I'd like to call this public hearing to order on July 11th. Please rise and we'll pledge the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Okay, at this time, the town clerk will read the legal notice.
Please take notice that the Town of Clinton will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 11th at the Town of Clinton Town Hall, 1215 Center Road, Rhinebeck, Town of Clinton, New York, at 6:25 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter is reached on the agenda concerning proposed local law number 2 of 17 entitled Clear Cutting Moratorium pursuant to Article 16 of the New York Town Law. This local law will take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Complete copies of the proposed local law are available in the town clerk's office for inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons and citizens shall have the opportunity to be heard on said proposal at the date, time, and place aforesaid.
Got it?
That's it.
Okay. So I'll open the public hearing. I request that you go up to the microphone there, talk into the microphone, and
State
give your name
Yeah.
and address, just so that we can keep track of who you are, that's all. And speak a little slowly so she can, the clerk
Sure,
can copy down.
My name is Bruce Tripp, and my address is 19 Lamoury Road, Rhinebeck.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm here on behalf of Malia Estate Vineyard, located at 46 Rimpf Road. And we at Malia Estate Vineyards, oh, by the way, I'm also the winemaker and one of the partners.
Okay.
One of the other partners is Ed Evans.
Okay.
We at Malia Estate Vineyard are supportive of the town board's initiative to protect forest lands from being clear cut. We also would like to take this opportunity to inform the board that we believe our project to be compliant with the proposed clear cutting moratorium, as it is defined in Section 4 of the proposed law. We also stated in our recent letter to the town board, our project consists of farmland reclamation for the purpose of planting a vineyard and building a tasting room on land that was up to recently planted with field crops. The majority of the land where the farmland reclamation has taken place was old field, and which can clearly be seen as fields on the satellite photos on Google Earth. Furthermore, the trees that have been removed were mostly new growth trees and represent a small fraction of the 68-acre parcel located at 60 Hollow Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
This is why I came here
Sure.
Okay.
tonight. Jim Brands, Rimpf Road, actually neighbors of the Malayas. I oppose a moratorium, and I suppose ultimately I oppose the, penultimate law that would follow this if a law was to be put in effect. And I look at a moratorium as one of these things that a town puts into effect to prevent some calamity from taking place. Most usual, it happens when a court throws out the zoning ordinance, and for whatever reason, and in order to prevent, say, a commercial use on, Fiddler's Bridge Road or somewhere else, you want a moratorium to prevent some calamity from occurring. There's an urgency, in other words, that's the reason for a moratorium. And maybe this board or maybe our supervisors are aware of what the urgency is if someone has a proposal to create some harm to this town that you're aware of. Otherwise, I don't know the reason for a moratorium. And more importantly, I don't know of a reason for the law itself that's being considered, because it's one more rule in a town that I feel is unnecessary. Next year, if memory serves, the 230th year this town has existed. And we've done quite well without it. We have more forests today than we had in 1900, actually throughout the nation, and there's good reasons for it. But I don't see the necessity of this law I don't see the necessity. I'm presuming you're spending money on a town attorney, either finding a law somewhere else to copy or putting together a law or a moratorium. And I don't think it's a wise use of town funds. I think too frequently we see towns coming up with laws for the sake of having them. And what I've enjoyed about Clinton, and I can speak with some family history, because roughly 125 years ago, one of my relatives sat in the same seat in the town as supervisor, so, we've been around a while. And what I enjoy about Clinton is we don't have a lot of laws we have to worry about. I have to come down here and leave my dinner to make sure you're not going to pass some other law, unless there's a really good reason for it. And we see in these towns, someone on a council doesn't like the color their neighbor's painting their house, so the next thing there's a law, you can't paint your house, so you get approval. Go through a process, get permits, and spend money. Unless somebody can tell me what's being threatened, and maybe there is a threat out there I don't know about. You folks know more what's going on in the town than I do on Rimp Road. But if there's some real threat out there, I'll be glad to hear about it. Maybe there is. I'm not aware of it, and I oppose the moratorium. And if it does go through and the ultimate law is then coming up for a public hearing, I'll stop back and say hi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak relevant to the public hearing on the moratorium? We'll hold just a few till 7:30. I don't know if we're there yet.
It was a minute ago,
Oh, a minute ago? Okay. Just in case somebody else was
6:30.
coming by. Okay, then I will close the public hearing. I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting, the public hearing, rather. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. And now we'll scoot right into the regular town board meeting. Okay, I open the town board meeting of July 11th, 2017. This is the regular meeting. Please rise and we'll pledge to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. There's agendas in the back there if you want to follow along as to the sequence of events. First item is approved minutes. I make a motion to approve the minutes of June 13th, 2017, the regular town board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Is anyone going to I want to talk in the public discussion first thing on topics in the agenda. Okay, then we won't open up, that's all. You'll have a chance still at the end. Supervisors' comments are next. The joint senior picnic with the towns of Clinton and Hyde Park will be held tomorrow. The Dutchess County Office for the Aging is holding their chicken barbecue senior picnic tomorrow, Wednesday, July 12th, rain or shine, starting at noon at St. Francis J. Mark Memorial Park. You should have made your reservation earlier to attend. They don't like walk-ins. The replacement of the Clinton Hollow Bridge on Hollow Road, County Route 14, has begun. The project will make a realigned Hollow Road, replace the bridge, and change the intersection with Schoolhouse Road. The county had to rebid the project, so the new dates are bridge construction will be anticipated start on September 5th, and the road will be anticipated open by November 22. The detour will be Center Road to Schultzville, then on to Fiddler's Bridge to Pleasant Plains. As more details become available, and I'll announce them at the town board meetings. Basically, there's a whole month slip in the schedule, is what it is. So that's what that says. Okay, next one, we do the reports, planning board.
Planning board meeting on the 20th of June had two items on the agenda. A lot line adjustment an applicant on Schultz Hill Road and Lake Pleasant Drive, simply swapping land from one parcel to another. The application was approved. And the people from Old Stone Farm over on Naylor Drive, who have been planning a site plan revision for, well, I would guess a year or so now, have come back with a revised site plan, which has changed from the previous version, mostly in terms of requesting a larger number of allowed guests than before, and also scaling down the restaurant, which was intended to be public, but now would be available only to guests of the conference center. Traffic study on 9G has already been finished. There's a bridge that is going to be widened, and some cabins that they would like to include. The next meeting of the planning board, I believe, the people will be back to continue the discussion. No action was taken. July 4th meeting was canceled due to Independence Day. And that's the report.
Okay, so that's the planning board. How about giving the ZBA a try? Zoning Board of Appeals?
The ZBA met on the 11th. No, I'm sorry, on the 22nd of June. People from Browns Pond Road requesting an area variance for front yard setback reduction to build a garage, a 30 by 50 foot pole barn. The shape of the lot required the variance because it is wide but very narrow, so almost anything that gets built will be in the setback, either the front or the rear setback, one way or the other. The ZBA approved the variance request for a front setback reduction from 100 feet to 25 feet. The variance was granted. And that's the report for the ZBA.
CAC?
So we didn't have it in the thing, so I'm going to try to read this off my phone, which is a little small print, so bear with me. There was a meeting on June 14th, held at 3:30 in the supervisor's office. Members of the committee in attendance were Barbara Mansell, Bill Rallier, and Noreen Collar. Members of the public were Jean McAvoy and Mike Whitten. Minutes were read off of the May 17th and approved meeting. Applications before the planning board was the Kahn property, and it was being resubmitted, and the CAC may ask to review. There was no change in the finances. The goals for 2017, which involved more resident participation of the CAC and natural resources of the town, were discussed. The Climate Smart Community Pledge was gone over. The group spent the majority of the meeting discussing how the town of Clinton could develop a climate action plan, and draft of the plan is attached to the minutes that were provided. No discussion on open space or watershed. Under biodiversity, Noreen stated that she was checking what other towns have accomplished in creating a critical environmental area to designate and protect key wildlife habitats. Under the education outreach, the town website continues to include the basic information about environmental concerns and provide information to members of the public. The Nature Trail Subcommittee, which Barbara is on, plans to walk on the Nature Trail on July 22nd. And they do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30, and that is the end of the report.
Okay, thank you. Recreation Committee.
Okay, as you said earlier, the summer picnic is happening tomorrow. We have the park in very good shape. We've completed all the projects that were related to the grant that was awarded to us last year, which meant that the pathways were all widened for ADA accessible, handicap accessible, if you don't know what ADA is. The bathroom, all the restrooms were upgraded. The addition, if you haven't been to the park, you'll find an addition to a basketball court is now there and being used quite a bit. The pavilion has been upgraded in terms of the kitchen. We've bought new appliances for the kitchen, which we're in great need of. And we've created some little areas where we've done some plantings to help mitigate people driving ATM vehicles around, et cetera, et cetera. The camp has started this week. We have attendance that ranges anywhere from 20, this is the summer camp for children, ranges anywhere from 20 to 25 children. I think we're in the range of about 20 now, possibly 19. And a lot of good participation there. We had hoped to start a middle school camp this year, but with all the changes and things that have happened in our relationship with the county and running summer camps, we're going to delay that until next year. But that certainly is a plan. And I would like to say, I'd like to make an appeal to anyone watching or anyone attending these meetings. Truly, I would like to see if there were people out there, whether they be retirees or not, that might consider volunteering to become part of the Recreation Committee. I think there's so much more we could do in this town, but we really have no committee. It's just myself and the director, and it's very difficult to get anything planned, anything done. The amount of work that would go into that would not be very much, but I think it would be very beneficial. So I would ask if you are interested to contact Carol, and she can forward the name to me, and we can possibly talk, okay?
Thank you. Next one is building inspector. I'll read that one, pretty straightforward. Number of building permits issued, 13. Number of COs and CCs issued, 24. Number of title search, 7. Number of miles traveled by the building inspector, 115. Total cost of construction, this is a big number this time, $1,465,400. Typically, we're not there. So that's the report. Next one is, there is no zoning administrator report, so we'll skip that one. We'll go to the highway.
Okay, the highway basically was doing a lot of cleanup for the storm that came through just recently. There were a lot of tree damage, et cetera, on Cookingham Drive, Silver Lake, and Pumpkin Lane, and they've been working on that. And typically this time of year, they're sweeping the streets in the town, they're doing cuttings along the side of the road, they're doing repairs and patching different parts of the road, and again, finishing up their maintenance on their winter equipment and keeping their summer equipment available for the projects that are coming up, and there are several in August. That's it.
Okay, scenic and historic roads.
No activity this month.
Okay, so we'll skip that one. Library report?
The library, the board does not meet in July. Normally they would have met last night, but they did not, since they do take the month off. However, the petition campaign for the 414 has officially started. You see people around town with clipboards and so on. Anybody who's interested in more details, questions, answers about the 414 can go on the library website where there's a page of FAQs. And there's also the second quarter report for the library, which has been posted on their website as well.
Okay, thank you. The next one is Altice, which is Cablevision before it was bought. We have no information change, so there's no report there. Zoning revision.
So typically, we would meet on the first Monday, but because last week was 4th of July, we didn't meet until last night. So most of the meeting was done discussing definitions. Obviously, this is a section that will be changing as we discuss other topics and make changes. but the majority of the time was spent on definitions and a continued conversation on the B&B, Airbnb, tent B&B being the latest crave. And that's the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. The next one is the transmission lines. I'll give you a short update. There is no change in the status of the new power line activity at this time. As expected, the whole schedule is still delayed again. The coalition combined guess is the developer selection results from New York State ISO will be around August, which is next month. And Article 7 Part B process will start in the third or fourth quarter of 2017. The coalition will have access to intervenor funds again, but there is little we can do to stop the process until fourth quarter of 17 when we know more details from the selected developers. Meanwhile, there's some good news, sort of. As you may have seen, the governor is committing to 2,400 megawatts of offshore wind power along Long Island, and the recent lease of 79,000 acres for $42.5 million, won by an extremely experienced European wind developer, would seem to undercut the need for the $1 billion transmission line to access a few hundred megawatts of renewables from upstate. The electric industry now openly acknowledges that electric sales are flat to declining, with the peak in load seeing ever smaller rates of increase, now well below 1%. It is not long before the peak starts to decline as well. We are just at the beginning of the REV implementation with microgrids, community solar, etc., which will further reduce the need for new transmission lines through Dutchess County. There will be no power line workshop after this board meeting until we get more definitive results. So, looks like we're still on hold, waiting to see what's going to pop out as to what they want to do. And we have no way of getting that until it gives birth in some email from New York State ISO. Any other reports? Okay, then we'll go update tree harvesting, local law.
Nothing new. Waiting for our editor to draft his final revision.
Okay, fee schedule.
So, since we haven't had a change in our fees in 5 years, conversations was maybe we should do that. So I canvassed other towns. I also canvassed the departments as to their thoughts and got input from our building department, both Arlene and Lewis, as to what they thought should be changed. So on this latest printout that I gave you were what we currently have and versus what we proposed the fee schedule changes to be. And left some blanks as to if you want to fill in some others or if you want to make any changes to the suggestions. Everything's on the table.
I have comments.
Go.
Coming down the first page where it says major 5+ lots, I would set, instead of putting 5+, it's really 5 or more lots, because otherwise 5 is missing.
Right, this exactly is copied the way it currently is, so if you
But
want
that
to...
doesn't make it right.
No, if you want to change it, I was just keeping the same format.
no, I'm-
Because Carol asked me to
Yeah, the
follow the
format's-
current format.
Format's the same, I'm not questioning the format, I'm just saying
And
that.
I follow orders pretty good,
Yeah, now,
because I don't want to get yelled at.
coming down to that ultra-fine
Well
print
trained.
down there where it says these fees, et cetera, et cetera.
Which one? Oh,
Right
right
under-
Right
underneath,
under
yep,
that,
yep.
yeah, okay. I have a question about the meaning of in the second line, just about a third of the way in, the or. Plus the per lot fee excluding the original lot, or plus per dwelling. So you either do a dwelling fee, or you do a lot fee, or you do a lot and dwelling fee. I don't know what the or is trying to do.
Didn't write it, so I don't know.
Well.
So if you
it
want to
doesn't-
change it,
I don't know what,
change it to make it sense to you. I mean,
well, I don't know what meaning we're trying to do.
Probably should just take it out, I would think. And
I mean,
just say
it-
plus the,
You know,
For
just
dwelling.
because it's there doesn't mean it's right, so. I'm just saying, I don't understand reading it, what's here, because what's here is what's gonna be.
So they are the fee for approval of final plat plus the per
well, no,
lot fee.
hang on, hold that thought. They're two separate things. Read the sentence again. They are the fee for approval of final plat plus the per lot fee, excluding and so on,
Yeah,
Right.
or plus the per dwelling unit if more than one dwelling per lot. So they're two separate things, so the or should be there.
Right, so it's saying that if there's more than one building, then this last,
Then
the latter
dwelling fee
part
goes.
applies.
okay,
So I think the
Okay.
or should be there.
okay, I'm just trying to,
Elliot, would you like to make it two sentences rather than the comparison of both? So the fee will be this, or the fee will be that for?
Could do that if you think that would
Well,
make it more clear.
clearly, Ray,
Yeah.
it's unclear, so let's
Try
take
that-
a minute and
Try
do
that
that.
there,
So you're our wordsmith.
yeah.
Ready?
Pressure's on here. Okay, these fees are in addition to the fee for preliminary plat, they are the fee for approval of final plat, plus the per lot fee excluding the original lot, or, then you want to put a comma in there, then say, or,
So comma after lot.
yeah, after the parentheses, right. Or
Do you want to transpose the sentence and say, or in the
approval,
case of there being more than one dwelling per lot? Maybe that would read,
yeah, that, actually, that's a good idea, yeah,
occasionally.
yeah, or, more than, yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that might work better. Or if more than one dwelling unit per lot, e.g. so-and-so. Fee, gosh, I don't know, this is gonna take some work.
well,
Then, okay, so, or
We're gonna
if
have to
more
work
than
on
one
this.
dwelling unit per lot, for example, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, the fee would be,
The fee for approval of final plat plus the,
the per dwelling unit.
something like that.
Can you wordsmith that and make it English for
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Yeah, because this is,
Okay.
it's cumbersome
yeah,
and it's confusing.
Okay, so we know, Elliot, that we are going to come to that conclusion on
Right.
that,
Okay.
but we'll wordsmith it
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah, because, you know, you're looking above, the two categories are the per lot fee or the per dwelling fee, so this is indicating
Right,
it's one or the other, not both.
right. So Elliot and I will just make it to where it's digestible.
yeah. Okay, next page, page
without college
2.
education.
Oh, lots and dwellings, you left the $3,500 when you're proposing $4,500 there. I'm just saying, we don't want to miss that,
In the
No, the-
narrative.
yeah, in the narrative.
Yeah, I didn't change anything in the narrative.
Well, I know, but.
Right, well, yeah,
Otherwise, if you
right.
forget it,
Right.
then it'll be all
But thi-
confusing.
And this is where Nancy has a question, so
Yeah, I
you
have a
might as well
que- I
throw
have
it
a-
in as we go
I
along.
was waiting for Ray, and then I
Oh.
would ask my questions. First of all, I go back to where you were before, the major
Oh, okay.
lot. I looked at all this, and I think it's a tremendous amount of work, and you did a great job, and I think it's timely that we increase fees. And as I look through all these fees, they are really nominal increases, okay? $20 to $5, $10, you know. But three things stand out. This one is going from 600 to 1,000. And on the next page, there's a couple others that are even larger. And I'm just wondering if that incremental jump is just a lot, and if we possibly would consider maybe increasing it so much this year, and then with the implication next year it would go up to that total. I have no problem if everybody agrees these are really fair fees, but that just sort of jumped out at me that it's a $400 increase. Okay? So I propose that as something to think about or talk about. I know these are in line with other townships.
Yeah, I mean, a 5-lot subdivision for $600 is
Very
extremely low.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours is.
Very low.
This is steel,
Yeah.
Okay,
$600, yeah.
so you think that
No,
one's
that's reasonable,
fine?
no problem.
Okay, all right, and I've got a couple questions on the next page.
Let me jump in with one on the first page before you do that. Boundary line adjustment, no change there? Is that because you weren't sure, or you just think it should
Well,
be the
I
same?
didn't want to penalize someone who wanted to just change the boundary line. They're not usually doing too much work other than showing up and because it was something that was always done by the county and we took it back into the town, I didn't want to be onerous on that anyway, so I didn't change it, but I left it blank if someone wants to add in a fee.
All right, I thought it was fair.
So it's not an oversight?
No.
That was my main question.
Okay, so you got the 35, 45
Got it.
numbers, and then right below it, it's 800 goes to 1,000 to match up the block,
Right. And they're the two I had the same concern about,
just to match up.
going from 35 to 45 and going from 800 to 1,000. That's not so bad, but that's a $1,000 increase, and I just,
But
Kind of.
you don't have the previous numbers, they're comparison figures,
Yeah,
no, I don't have it with me.
because it has Rhinebeck 3,000, Pleasant Valley 4,000, Hyde Park 5,000.
No, my
we're
point
in
wasn't that it's not a fair number.
Oh.
My point is how we get there.
it's a big number jump.
Oh, a
Okay.
big jump.
It's a $1,000 jump, and my point is, do we maybe make it incremental? This year, we do half of it, next year we do the other half. That was my concern.
You know, one of the thoughts in some of the number comparisons are whether it was an individual, which I would feel more compassion for, versus, a commercial enterprise, which we have very few, but, that's a different thing, where they're actually generating earnings. And so therefore, we're talking about a mobile home park in this particular
Right.
case, to go from 800 to 1,000, it's not very, when you take into considering how many mobile home pads there are versus, if it was only one pad for $200 jump, yeah, that would be a large increase, but, 10, 20, 30 pads, $200 increase is not that much.
Okay.
So that was the thought behind that jump, but also in comparison where the other towns are $3,000 and $4,000 or $5,000, $1,000 is still
Way under.
way under what, other towns are charging.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Coming down to the yellow spot,
So anything that's yellow is something new that I put in.
yeah. It says renewal of special permit and/or site plan review.
So we have a charge
Renewal
for the
after.
permit.
Yeah, but renewal after what period of time? It should
Well,
stay after 2 years, 1 year, 5 years?
It's by code, so there are some permits that are good for a year.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, that issue came up with the cell towers.
And that was
It's
5
not-
years versus
It's not
annual
clear that it's
versus.
legally defensible, though, unless there's a change. To simply charge a fee without some kind of a change in status.
Well, the change in status is they're coming back in to get a renewal.
Yeah, but the, yes, okay, wrong word. The situation is the same in the sense that it's the same facility doing the same thing as it did before. So I'm not sure that
Well, there's
it's-
two categories. One is the renewal, one is an amendment.
Well, the amendment is
Amendment's
different, because that implies that there's a change, but a
right.
renewal is just a renewal.
Well, the renewal is because
And-
it expired.
Right, but I'm not sure, I think it was a conversation with Neil in regard to the cell towers, that you're allowed to do that the courts would uphold that, because it's simply a charge without any change other than a charge. So, I mean, we'd have to do some investigation to find out. I have no problem with it if it's legally defensible,
Right, but
of course.
when the planning board gives an approval for a special permit,
They're usually open-ended. Very rarely are they not open-ended.
so then they wouldn't come back for a renewal.
I can only remember
So
two
then this
cases
wouldn't apply.
in
That's,
15 years that I was on the planning board where we asked somebody to come back. Campgrounds, yes, but they're a separate
That's,
category.
yeah, separate category.
We had one gentleman who wanted to build a kennel, and we were concerned about the impact on the neighbors, and so we had a 2-year, and he came back. And we had a horse farm with a similar kind of situation, and we gave them, I think, 3 years, and they came back. Those are the only ones that I can remember where we ever had people come back. Typically, they're open-ended.
so
so
you
it's
want to
a-
put
It's a moot point as far as.
renewal if needed.
Yeah, or
Well,
something,
you can always say that, sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And we should have a conversation with Neil or with Shane about whether, for example, with cell towers and things of that sort.
I'm just only addressing if they had to come back to the planning board
Oh, yeah,
for renewal.
For sure. Well, sure, you can do that, yeah. I would think, sure. Yeah, I mean, in those few cases where it does happen,
Mhm.
very few cases.
So how do you want to wordsmith that?
Renewal if needed, I guess.
If needed.
Yeah, if needed.
And then
In
the
brackets,
law
if
would
needed.
then give you the timing of what's needed. The next one, under administrative review, the last line of that small print, right in the middle, it says, if the determination of the original officer is reversed. Who is the original officer? Is that the zoning enforcement? Is it the planning board? Is it the?
Well, we keep on talking about that, so, it would be whoever made the determination. So if it was a ZEO determination, then it would be the ZEO. If it was the building inspector, it'd be the building inspector. Again, I didn't change any of this.
No, I know,
Right.
but I'm just saying, I was just trying to question who the person is.
Presiding officer?
Well, he's saying who's the officer, so he's wanting to spell it out.
You're saying it could be different situations.
Well, there's only a few. Zoning enforcement, building inspector, planning board,
would it
not
be
an officer,
Town board, could be the town
or
board,
town
too.
board.
We give,
But, I mean, that's,
So it's just
It's
saying,
those
go to
three.
the original officer, so whoever made the original determination, I think it's pretty
makes sense to me.
open to
Seems-
determining whoever
Okay.
made the original
Better
decision.
not, it seemed to be better to have, to not narrow it down. It'd be- to have it
okay.
Inclusive.
I'll
Do you
go
think it
with
should narrow down?
No, this is more
Right.
inclusive. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't write this, but I think it's
Yeah, I would
pretty
think.
clear as to,
Okay. Next page,
Before you
top.
go, Ray, question about the variance.
Oh.
That's a big increase. That's a big increase. To go from 165 to 2.5, that's a lot, it seems to me, for a variance, and most variances are pretty innocuous. You know, people have a setback, typically it's a setback issue, somebody wants to build a
Like
garage. or
$200
something.
instead of $250.
I know we're on the low end compared to the other towns, but nevertheless, I mean, that's a,
so what you're
Almost
suggesting.
doubled.
yeah. I would, well, I mean, I think there are two possibilities. If you just want to have one price, I would say 200 is a more reasonable
So we'll
price.
just make it 200.
Or, if you want to be a little bit more esoteric about it, is to separate area from use variances. This may get more complicated than we want to be, because area variances are very, as I said, mostly innocuous. Use variances are not. If you want to charge a higher fee for a use variance and a lower fee for an area variance, okay, never mind.
I think this is, 200 is more than
I
enough.
detect a certain lack of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
200
No.
bucks,
I
fine.
could make 2 lines in there.
Move on.
Okay, top of the next page, the yellow thing, wetlands permit. Is that federal, state, or what? Which one, which kind of wetlands?
Well, we don't control anything other than the town, so we can easily put in town wetlands permit.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, we don't control any of the others, but people do come into the town for the town's local wetlands.
Yes.
That's why I asked which
Yes,
one.
they certainly do.
Okay, the next one is down excavation to build a pond or lake. You need a permit, I see there. If you're in an ag district for agricultural purposes, whether either to get water out of it, to spray to grow your plants, or feed your livestock or something, I don't know if you can charge a fee without checking with Ag and Markets up in Albany.
We would have to review what the town code says, it may have an exemption for it. So this is saying section
even know that,
250.
But even the town code may be at fault where the Ag and Markets has a different overruling interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, we still
We do
approve
check that.
any construction that goes on in the farm. We
I
can't, we
understand.
can't deny it.
Right, right. We can approve it, sure.
Well,
and review
yeah,
it.
there's certain things you can't even do, like greenhouses, that's outside of your purview. Okay, so that's that one open. Now, we go down to trailer park permit. is this a per site fee or per total once? For the whole thing?
I think it's a total,
The whole thing.
whole thing.
Okay, that was just a question I wanted to ask. Now,
And then I added in the extra line below for the
Right.
renewal because we don't have anything there.
now, that's
Right.
annually renewed?
Yes.
The RV park permit is an annual renewal. That I know.
Yeah. And there's no number there.
I left it blank because we don't have, it wasn't there before, so.
Why would there be such, out of curiosity, there's a significant difference between mobile homes and RVs? Why? Why would that be? Any idea?
I have no idea.
Year-round occupancy is the difference
Seasonal
between them
versus-
versus seasonal. They gotta be closed in January and February each year at RV parks, but in mobile parks,
Is that the
they're
difference?
open all year long. That's one thing.
Okay,
And RV parks, they have permanently attached utilities, sewer, water, electric and all. Mobile home parks are permanently attached. The others are not necessarily. They gotta be winterized and everything else.
so they're more transient.
Yeah.
So what, charge $100 for RV, for the renewal? Why would a renewal not be there? Would
Well,
that-
you also get,
an
on
oversight?
an RV park, you get the campground permit renewal every year. There was one saying it was so much per site,
That's how we do it. Per
$25,
site.
yeah. So I don't know why we want to add something else for that. That already existed.
It's already there, and then there's no reason to double
Yeah,
up.
so,
Okay. I didn't see it there, so I just,
Okay.
I added it in.
yeah, so, okay.
The RV park
RV
permit
park
on the renewal.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we have that as a campground park. Okay, the next one is building permit. Original building permit is good for 2 years, it says there. Okay, residential, new or addition construction is $60 with a plus sign. Then we have a statement saying $30 plus per 100 square feet of living space with a $30 minimum. Now, this is where it gets confusing. You do the $60 you pay, and then you divide the square feet by 100, and then multiply by 30? Is that how you come up with the actual number?
Yeah, this is how it is right now, so,
Yeah, the $60, the 60 is flat. You start with the 60.
right, 60 is the base.
60 is the base, or 75, and, right. And then on top of that is
Right, it's an addition.
based on the addition, right, based on,
So the $30
Square
per
foot.
100 square foot is in addition to the base of the 60.
Okay, well, somehow we should word that so you don't have to figure out what the plus signs mean on these, because that pops up in different places, and
So I can put up on the first line where it says residential, new, or addition, I'll just put base fee,
you're right.
and then we could put plus on the next line, the
Right.
$30 per
Yeah,
$100 square foot of
That's
living.
okay.
Okay.
And get rid of the plus signs on. And the same thing applies to the next line down. Now, I got a question here. It says here, new or addition barn construction decks attached or detached garages and storage sheds. Then on the next page, it says,
yeah, barns.
barn sheds and structures used for farming purposes, these fees apply are. So this should say non-farming purpose, I think here. Just to separate the two sections, see what I'm saying?
So non-farming.
Yeah.
There also seems to be some confusion about the agricultural one, about whether that involves a base or not, or whether it's strictly based on the formula that's here.
If it's based on what?
Apparently, the way we've been doing it is
Yeah.
using the same kind of formula on the previous page, where it was $60 plus.
Right, right.
But if you read what's here, It doesn't say that. If you read what's here, it simply says up to 250 square feet, you pay this.
Right, right.
So which is it?
Well, no, then they also have,
It
if
needs
you
to
go from
repeat.
250 to 2,000.
I understand that, but what about this $60 or $75 starting
That's,
fee?
no, that's the non-farming parts.
So that does not apply?
No.
Right.
Okay, because
That's-
there's some confusion
I
about.
know there is.
Yeah,
That's why I
okay.
brought this up to you.
Okay, all right, so it's,
Thank
this
you.
is the way, so there's no base rate for
No.
farming,
Right.
for agriculture.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, then we go
You wanna-
down,
Dean, you want to correct the spelling of purposes
proposed.
in the first line?
goes to purposes.
Yeah, it should be purposes, I'm sure.
Okay, the next one is renovations and alterations. You say $3 per square foot of surface area. Are you counting walls, floors, ceilings, roofs? What is the square foot of surface area that you're referencing?
Again, I didn't reference it,
There
but
are-
how Arlene figures it has been debate,
zoning-
because
the
we
zoning
talked about
code
with
is
the
ambiguous,
solar
exactly.
panels and stuff like
And
that.
the- And the zoning code is ambiguous in terms
Right.
of floor space, habitable space, they're
Right.
different.
I understand,
So we need to choose one of those things.
somebody's got it and use this to make dollars and
Okay,
cents
then what
cost.
was, I guess the question is, what was the intent? And whatever the intent was, that's what we want to do. 3 years ago.
That's why I asked.
What was the intent when this
Right.
was
Here.
created? Dean, do you remember? Was it intended to be floor space,
No,
habitable space?
this is going back, this has always been.
Well,
Okay,
let's
well, then we
correct
get
it
to
now.
decide.
Let's correct it.
I mean, so I know that as far as when we look at square footage compared to like other qualifications, they don't use closets and stuff like that, but when it comes to construction, you're still building that square footage.
So it should be
So it should be
The
total,
largest category.
it should be the
rather
largest category in total.
Well,
But
that would be
it's
square footage, right?
Right.
It's that surface area is the thing that called my
I'm
attention.
thinking it should be square footage.
Why not just say $3 per square foot?
Right, right, I think, I would change it to square footage,
I'll
because I
leave
think
out
that's.
surface area since it's ambiguous, and, anyway.
You know, because all those others are areas.
Mm-hmm.
And that then says that you take the base, then you add $3 a square foot to the base, so you gotta make that statement there. Add the base or something.
Base plus.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is under the yellow line. It says renewal of a building permit 2 years after its original issuance and for each year thereafter. Half cost of original. I think you want original fee.
We could say fee, we could say permit, or whatever.
I mean, because that's what the original half cost, the
Mm-hmm.
original fee is. Because it varies from year to year. You know, as ever we change this. Okay.
It says it in the writing itself. So in the bullet underneath, it says 1/2 the renewal fee.
Oh, after its original issuance, but it doesn't say fee there. Just says 2 years after the original issuance.
Okay.
Okay, coming down to the next yellow line, this is under pool permits.
We have nothing for hot tubs right
I
now.
understand. Now, hot tubs come in 2 versions, inside and outside. Are you including both or just the one? All the other ones that you showed are outside pools. So you're talking about...
I would think inside goes under home improvement construction versus this is talking about
well then-
exterior pool permit, so,
Let's just
so we could put outside.
Yeah, any ambiguity I like to get rid of.
I mean, someone can have an indoor pool too. I mean,
Oh, I know, I know. Okay, demolition permit and plan approval, I don't know where that, I know what it's about, and plan approval.
So the plan approval wasn't there before,
Yeah.
so that's an addition. The building permit for a demolition permit, the demolition permit was there at $90.
Yeah, no, I know that.
So the plan approval process was the additional thing, since now the planning board's having to review them all, where before, the zoning administrator used to make the determination. So that's why there's
So
a
then-
substantial increase.
Yeah, so then you should cite the town law code that applies to that. Then the next one says operating permit, $75, $90, whatever the number is. Operating what? Operating a still, operating,
I have no idea.
making milk into
No,
cheese?
not
I don't
making
know.
milk.
Making wine? That's an operating permit.
Maybe.
I mean,
It's
gotta say something as to what.
it's already there. I don't know what,
I know
Whatever it is,
it's
we're
already-
increasing
I don't know what
it.
we're charging for operating permits, but
You know, we either have some definition or we take it out.
Take it out.
I don't like it open.
it's there, so we'll have to figure out what it is. Do you know if we charge any type of
You know,
operational
I'm-
permits?
I don't ordinarily get involved in that. It really would be a building.
Building, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
planning board issue.
I just don't know.
No, I do recall some discussion about it, but specifically, I can't put my finger on it at this moment.
We'll leave that with a big question mark then. I'll find out what it is.
Okay, the next one comes down under,
So these extra 4 items under that were all add-ons because they were
oh, yeah,
no mention in our code,
Yeah.
or no mention for
the
applications.
one under generator, I'm curious as to,
Electric service upgrade,
Yeah,
well, no, I'm not worried about that one. That one's pretty obvious. But
supplemental
the
heating.
generator one
it's a whole house.
You said the one under generator.
is standby and permanent, I think, is what you want to add there, because that's the kind of generator you're talking about.
A who?
Standby.
An automatic one that kicks.
But, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
standby generator or
Not
a
just a s-
permanent one.
Not just a small one that you.
No,
Yeah,
no,
right,
I'm just trying to
right.
define it, because
Okay.
there are people that have put in, not in our town, but I know over in Stanford, a guy put in a permanent generator. He's off the loop. He puts propane through it or whatever he does. And he has a big generator and it feeds his whole operation, his dairy farm. So that's what I'm saying. So let's just put both of them down so we all know what it is.
Okay.
Now, the very last one, supplemental heating. Wood / pellet / gas and chimney installed. You forgot coal. Coal does exist. And it says install, repair, and replace. Now, if I lose one of my fire bricks in the fire chamber, it splits, and I gotta go and buy a $3 fire brick to put in there, I gotta spend $125 to get a permit to fix it? No.
So how do you want to define it?
I wanna take repair out.
I mean, are you going to come in and get a permit to put that $3 brick in?
If the law says.
If you come in for a permit, then you should pay for a permit. I mean, if you're just going up and putting a brick in, I don't think anybody's going to be the wiser.
I understand that, but I'm just trying to say,
You know, whatever the code says that, you know, there's certain building codes that says what we have to do.
I question that as repair. And I gave you a trivial example, but I gave you something.
So we want to take out the word repair?
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
Okay.
Well, but does that refer to chimney or does that refer to the fireplace?
Chimney or a fireplace.
Either one.
Supplemental heating, yeah.
Well, but, you know, you can have a major repair on a chimney.
Of course.
So if you take out repair, then
Just
that
leaves
goes
it-
out. Whether it's one brick or half the chimney.
Or we could put, if permit is needed.
Or you could put, you know, if the cost is over, say, $50 or some number, I'm just picking a
Not
number
gonna
out.
buy you a lot of bricks.
No.
That's what I was looking at.
So how you want to word it? You want to put in over $50?
Yeah, for repair.
That's almost everything.
Yeah, what
$50
doesn't
is
cost
nothing.
over $50?
You know, I just grabbed the number, I wasn't
I mean,
thinking.
if you're gonna put something in, it might as well be something that has,
Yeah,
you know,
I don't-
something, so if $50 nowadays, go to Williams, buy a brick, drive home, cost you $50.
Yeah.
So
Say over
$100?
$100.
I would say, at least, I would
Okay.
think.
Okay,
If you wanna
So
assign
repair
some kind of
over
number for it.
$100.
yeah, good. Next page. We're down under fire safety inspection fees. The interesting one is single-family residence. Is this in addition to a building permit, which requires in general a fire inspection of the smoke detectors and stuff prior to the issuance of the CO? Or is this when the person just says, oh, could you come over and check my house and see what you think? So one is,
Whatever's referenced by the town code 112-5.
you know, I didn't look at the code, so I don't know, but I have a question, is, you know, was this in addition to the original building permit fee that you had to pay this extra amount? If you don't, fine.
I don't
We do
think
not-
we
we
charge
do
for
not.
COs because it's part of the building application.
Right,
That's
I
right.
understand.
So
And we
this-
don't charge for the fire inspections either. That's not a
Well,
separate charge.
it's right
part
here.
of the, I understand that it's there,
Yeah, it's there.
but I'm telling you that you asked the question, do we charge this upon issuance of a
Okay.
CO? We do not.
No, that's what I didn't think so. Okay, the other one is schools.
So I mean, this could be something like
A school
someone's
sign-
using a bed and breakfast and they
Oh,
have a
yeah, no.
single-family house
Yeah.
and they need a fire inspection
Yeah,
code.
that's okay.
So that was how that would apply.
Yeah.
And that's why I said you would have to reference what
I was not-
112-5 is.
Yeah. Schools aren't included in your list here. There is a school in town, needs a building.
Commercial.
It's not commercial necessarily. For well, Upton Lake Christian School is just on the border of our town.
Well, the buildings are not. The entrance of the property is, but the buildings are not
I'm
in our
just
town.
saying
Well, I know.
that that's a school. There's another school in
There's
town,
a school on Allen Road. Do
Island Road.
Well,
Yep.
how about, you could add public buildings,
you want to have a separate category or do you want
Or
to put it
include
in
that.
with commercial?
put them in with
They're not-
commercial,
That's why I say,
commercial, industrial, or public buildings.
or school. At school.
Well, but public buildings leaves open other possibilities besides schools. For- On the outside chance that there may be one.
Okay.
It could also fall into nonprofit property.
But
Yeah.
schools need inspections.
Well, that's true, you
They
could do that.
physically
yeah,
need them as part of their
Again,
yearly
it could
check.
fall into nonprofit.
That's true.
They may not be
Except
nonprofit.
if they're charter schools.
So, I mean, you know, it's tricky.
But they would still be public.
So where do you want to put it in? You want to put schools under commercial?
I'd put them under commercial. Commercial, industrial building, school.
For $50 is probably not worth being aggravated
They
about.
need it. Okay, next one is highway fees. We got the regular ones there, and I'm not questioning those. There are occasions where we get a temporary driveway. We should have a permit for that. The temporary driveways occur for several reasons. One, logging companies come in and they do logging for a 50-acre parcel.
But wouldn't that still fall under driveway permit?
No,
Wouldn't that fall under the, isn't that covered by the tree law,
no,
the non-existent tree law?
no. This is the driveway.
Yeah, but the one that we've worked on, doesn't it include access?
I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter, it doesn't exist.
Well, that's true.
But we've had
I
this.
mean, if you want
this occur-
driveway or temporary driveway permit,
That's okay, fine. Because they come and they tear it up as they go in and out over the field road into the town
we
road.
just add in
Do you
temporary
want the
driveway.
title to read driveway permit, temporary driveway permit?
Yeah,
One title?
yeah. Okay. Then the other one is, and it does occasionally happen, reconstruction of a town road so that the access can be made feasible. to meet the sightline requirement. Sometimes the shoulder's got to be cut back, sometimes the road's got to be widened, built up. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm not following, we're not gonna bill ourselves, so.
No, I just want to say that we charge whatever is the cost of that the person either does the work under our specs, our review, or he pays the bill for the work to be done by somebody else. I don't care.
Well, that's part of like subdivision rules and,
No, it doesn't have to be just be a household owner.
When have we done that?
yeah, when does it apply? I can't even
It's
think
very
about how we
close.
can get it applying.
It appeared on, one of the places was up on Schultzville Road, just north or east of the dog kennels there, where the land had to be cut back
Oh, right, yeah.
on the side of the hill, the ditch had to be changed, big trees had to be taken down. This guy fortunately did it all himself. There are other people that are not gonna do it by themselves. I mean, that's a current one. We had another one years ago which never went through, but we argued for about 6, 8 months, and that's over on,
But we're requiring them to do this?
no, we're requiring that they pay the cost of it for the
Well,
reconstruction.
Yeah, of course, but we're also requiring them, saying that work has to be done, or else there'd be no reason for them to do it if we didn't require it. In this particular case, it was a
So
site,
in terms of issuing a
Sidewalk.
driveway permit, we're
So-
issuing the permit incumbent upon the
Site
movement
distance.
of land or the creation.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't get a driveway permit because of the site distance issue.
Yeah.
Right. But
So
what
if
he's
you want to
saying
take
is-
it upon yourself to do it, then that's fine. Why would the town want to do it?
well, except if somebody comes in and wants to do it, put in a drive, like this Schultzville Road thing, and the highway fellow says you gotta cut back X, Y, and Z,
Or they say no, and they can't put in a driveway.
or they say no, yeah.
I mean, I think that's what's in play pretty much on a daily basis.
Oh, right, more
No.
often than not, they find somewhere else to put the driveway, or they wouldn't have a driveway or something, yeah, yeah.
Do we want to get into the business of negotiating with people and, you know?
Yeah, we do.
When when there isn't any other site, or the road frontage is very narrow, or they have a flag
Yeah.
lot and so
Yeah.
forth. So, you know, it really is,
That's part of-
in my opinion, it's a very unusual circumstance.
It's not often, I just bring it
Yeah.
up so that we
I
can,
mean, usually there's a place, but some lots are configured in such a way that there's only one place or two places because
about
of-
30 years ago, we had that same problem
What he did-
on a road where
so
a
it-
person could not
don't know
do
what-
it without having to do extensive earth moving to realign the road a little bit and everything else to make it occur. Eventually, they just ran out of money.
well, that's
I'm just
right.
saying, but people have tried and wanted to do it, so
Don't know,
that's all I'm
don't
asking.
know.
So what are you proposing? That we put in a line for work done by town on behalf of?
No, reconstruction of town roads, the cost be borne by,
Yeah, but that's not fair, like, if to say that anytime we want to reconstruct our roads, that we're going to be billing.
Right.
That's the way I'm reading that,
No, I
that
know.
we're going to be billing the landowners.
Besides, if you're
That's
charging
not
them,
usual.
if you're charging them to reconstruct the road, you don't want to charge them a permit fee on top of that.
no.
That wouldn't be very nice.
Okay.
I mean, I think if they're
it's
coming
not
for a
too often.
permit, they either do the work for the site distance, or
We'll
they
take
don't
it.
do the work, that's up to them.
Okay.
But if we're reconstructing the road for our behalf, then we're not going to bill them.
No way.
Yeah, okay,
It's
we'll
an
leave that
interesting
alone.
concept.
It's an interesting concept. No,
Return check costs, last one there, you went up 5.
I didn't change anything, I took them all out.
Okay, because I thought that was statutory.
Yep, I took them all out, so you have to go all the way back to Pavilion. That's the only change next.
Well, I got, are these dog fees consistent with what we're being charged and not less than what we're being charged? I just don't know what we're being charged
The
by
dog
contract.
fees, the town controls the dog fees right now.
No, the
because-
impoundment and the board is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we have very few
I know.
charges come in, but they're consistent with other towns.
But
They're-
how about our billing, I think
No,
that's
I
what the
just want to
question.
be sure that what our contract is with the person who's doing the work, we're not
Are they the
charging
same?
less.
Are they the same
than-
as what they were?
I didn't change
Yeah,
anything.
then they are, yeah.
Okay, I just didn't look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then we get down to the ball court, field, and all that, the numbers I'm not worried about. Who collects and enforces, and I think you want to change the first line to say daily maximum rate. Because that's what you're implying here.
Okay.
I think that's what you're meaning.
Yeah.
The maximum is that, but
Well, the daily rate is this,
the daily rate, but.
or the per hour rate is that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but
Yeah.
not to, if they exceed doing the hour rate and it goes beyond the $50 or whatever it is, they only pay 50. That's all I meant.
I'm having a problem with this one.
I just want to know who collects and enforces.
I mean, the court has been put there for the use of the community.
Well, again, this
I
is
can-
if someone's renting the court.
Just like the pavilion.
Because Dan, and like I told you, I emailed Dan and you on the language. This came from Hyde Parks per se, because Dan has outside people that are willing to rent for a league, both the basketball court and the baseball field. So right now, we don't have any fees, so he's kind of like willy-nilly negotiating them. So I took the language from what Hyde Park has, and they even have it broken down even further, and I kind of came up with like a compromise.
I would like to table this one. Can we do this one at a later date? I don't agree with some of the language to $10 per hour for Clinton residents. No, I can see us,
So change the number, I mean, that's
I
that's
can,
fine.
Clinton residents should be free to go down and use that,
They can use the court anytime they
Court
want.
anytime they
This is if
want.
they want to rent it.
okay? I don't see why someone would want to rent it except for leagues.
Maybe
That's
they-
why-
They may have a family reunion there and they want to have a,
This is like if
Own the
they're
court
renting the
so that they
pavilion,
Right.
and they also want to rent the court, so that it's their exclusive use, it gives them the option. Do they need to? No.
We don't do that for the swimming hole.
I-
You know, I think you're traveling in dangerous.
When you rent a pavilion,
The
you,
park is one of the few
the park is
gems
yours.
that's available to our people for the taxes that they pay.
exactly.
And we've made a precedent that when people rent the pavilion, it's really for
So we
the
could take out the whole resident line
Right.
in total, so
I
it's not
think
even an
that-
option.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if you have a party and you want to have a pickup game, first come, first served. My kids are down there every day.
Exactly.
That's fine,
and
too.
Exactly.
When the kids come in from Hyde Park, they're like, yo, dude, you can have it in an hour. And they work it out, and that's the way it
Mm-hmm. Yep.
happens, so. I
This
think
was
it's a
something
gem
that Dan requested.
Well, then you
I
would-
looked at the town of Hyde Park, this is what they
You
do.
wouldn't just take out resident, you would take out the whole section.
No, I would just take out the residents, so it's.
Well, I do think that,
Well, not if
you
you-
know, I do know like on a Saturday afternoon that the town of Hyde Park is utilizing our basketball court for a men's league. I think that's perfectly appropriate.
And that's chargeable.
But I think in terms of when you're a town resident and you're using the park, we don't exclude people from swimming
Right,
because
right,
the
right.
Werner family
Right.
wants to use the swimming hole.
These Hyde Park
Same
guys,
idea.
do they pay, these Hyde Park guys? They're
Well,
not
no,
paying.
because there's nothing, there's no
There's nothing.
structure. There's no structure right yet.
and they can't get a commitment if they're gonna do it on a team basis. You know, they want to have so many games here during the month, and then they'll go to Hyde Park and have so many games that they can plan on when they're coming or going too, so.
Do other towns charge? They do,
Yeah.
non-residents.
Well, other towns have their own leagues, which is my experience.
Right.
So
We're
other
not there yet.
towns don't need to come,
Okay.
go outside of their own boundary in order to utilize an evening game, right? They're setting that up for their own people.
Mhm.
And I think that that's in the works, you know what I mean? Build the baseball, build the basketball court, and they will come. So, I mean,
They
it's,
came.
it's barely dry, and people are, you know, really utilizing that in a really good way. So I think the rec department has yet to come up with their leagues, and I think they're working on it. So,
Right. I would like to take out both Clinton residents and non-residents, being able to rent that court. We can rent to organizations, we can rent to leagues. I think that's the way we start out, because I think what's going to happen is the court is going to be used continuously by people renting it, and it's going to preclude the teens of the community being able to use it. I really do feel that we could embellish this later on, but I'd like to see just the last two.
What about organizations of Clinton people? What would you do with an organization of Clinton people?
It's organizations.
Organizations
They would
and
pay- they would-
leagues.
They would pay a fee,
Right.
even though it's a local group, it's
Yeah.
not
Right.
people from out of town.
Yeah, say it's Alliance Church
Yeah,
here
that's
that
what I
wants
mean,
to
yeah,
do something
exactly.
down
Yeah, okay.
there. Pay for it.
Okay? I'll take that up with Dan.
And then,
Take it up with Dan. He asked me to put it in, I put it in.
okay, and then you gotta flesh out, not necessarily in here, but who collects and enforces it.
Then Dan can figure that one out.
I'm just saying, someplace along the way,
collects
we
the
gotta have some
pavilion rental fee?
instructions.
The person who actually scheduling all this would be the collector, and I assume that would be Dan.
It's gonna be
Okay.
a problem. You know, I mean, I think that, you know, I mean, I just have seen time and time again, somebody's paying for an hour, they're there for 3 hours.
Yeah,
Another
you're
person
not
comes in, and, you know, we're in the office, and you
Yeah.
know, so it's a little, definitely that needs to be
Yeah.
fleshed out.
Yeah, okay. The last one, under mass gatherings application fee, gatherings of 500 to 999, et cetera, et cetera. I would like to add one line just before that saying, less than 500, no permit required, free. You know, free over on the side. It just cleans it all up, so there's no question. Under 500, no permit and no fee.
No application fee.
Yeah.
No fee,
No permit
application.
So an extra line for 04990.
Yeah. Well, I just said less than 500.
Okay.
Okay, and on the last page, the last item, I don't know what the state law is on this.
I took all the fees
No,
out
no,
here.
I know, I'm not worried about the fees. I was worried about someone asking for more than 90 years of searching.
Well, the most we can charge is $202, so that's,
So it should be 81
Plus
forever.
more than
it's
80.
statutory, Ray.
I
I mean,
know.
if there was a question, we would go to the state. I
No,
wouldn't
no.
even think about it.
Well, I just was putting it in because I thought we had a limit here. We ended at 90 is all I meant.
I think it's just, I mean, I could go on for 85 pages, I
No, no.
suppose. So, you know what, if there's a question, we call the state,
Okay, okay.
okay? I mean,
Because
since
people
no-
are going back further and further in time on
Yeah.
things. I just wanted to,
I understand what you're saying. It's definitely, so it's incremental, so if you look at the pattern,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
incremental, so you just do the math, essentially.
that's it.
Okay, thank God.
Now, do you want to clean it up and approve it next time, or do you want to approve it with all the guesses?
Why can't we approve it? There were no major,
Yeah, I'm
Problems.
just asking.
let's not go through this again.
Approve it with the amended,
With the amended changes.
Okay.
This will be a numbered resolution, if that's meaningful
Yes.
to you. So if you want to read it the same way, it'll be resolution number of 2017, titled The Town of Clinton Rec Fee.
okay. I make a recommendation,
Make a motion.
I make a motion, be resolved, the town board approves resolution number blank of 2017. Town board hereby adopts the
Fee schedule
2017 fee schedule
as amended.
as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. For the delay, but it's done.
Now, do you want to do that? Do you want me to do that? You tell me how you want to handle
I
that.
have it on my Excel, so I can
Okay.
easily change those items and shoot it to you.
Okay, and then I'll just double check against the notes that I've taken, and we'll just put our heads together and distribute it. Okay.
Okay, the next one is Governor's Shared Servicing Law. I got a short little statement to read here. As part of the governor's 2017 budget was included a requirement that the county executives develop a plan in concert with local governments to create a countywide services property tax saving plan. I submitted these shared services activities that the town of Clinton is interested in participating in. County road salt purchase, we actually do that right now. Piggyback on county bid for shared macadam paving. Piggyback on county bid for rental of highway equipment. Having the county do motor vehicle repair. Do countywide assessor service provided there is a resident clerk in town office. Do a county bid for sports field baseball clay, and do a county bid for playground mulch. The next meeting on July 18th will develop the specific projects and possible savings will generate the countywide shared services initiative plan. The aggressive schedule has the panel of local officials approving the plan by September 15th, 2017. This is a mandate from the state with little hope of getting any funding to cover costs. So that's the update on that one. That's done. So that's
So it's
done.
basically highway and rec that are the
Yeah,
shared
yeah.
services.
So why couldn't we, because you put in there it wasn't competitive or something like that, but why couldn't we use the county's software for the tax collection? Because this has been something that I've been mentioning as far as us updating our software so that residents could pay online, and maybe even having them send out the bills, which would probably be a whole lot more efficient too.
The only thing that they discussed when they were offering this option was the ability to do online tax payment, tax bill payment. That was all the option you had, nothing else.
So we don't have that option right now.
We
Yeah,
do, yeah.
we do. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep, she takes 3 different kinds
Yeah,
of,
yeah, so we had it, so there was nothing,
Okay.
and it would have
Yeah,
And
been,
it wasn't more efficient.
no,
Okay.
no, not at
no.
all.
That was I spent a lot of
People
time
like
on
the
studying these
touchy-feely,
things.
yeah. People like
Well-
coming to the town and people like our tax.
Well, I'm not talking about
collector.
that. I'm talking about, we had to have the option. We didn't have it last year.
She implemented a lot
Yeah.
since the last meeting we had.
Okay, so we're off on local law 2, that's the moratorium. Any more discussion anybody wants to do on it?
I'm ready to make that motion, if the board's ready to receive it. Be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number of 2017, that the town board hereby adopts said local law number 2 of 2017 entitled Clear Cutting Moratorium, a copy of which is attached here to and made a part of this resolution. And be it further resolved, the town clerk be and she hereby is directed to enter this local law in the minutes of this meeting and give due notice of the adoption of this local law to the Secretary of the State of New York.
Is there any further discussion?
Well,
Yes, second.
do we second it first?
Second,
Yeah.
yeah, my mistake.
So I'll second it.
Okay.
And then I would ask that, because Jim brought up his question, that, we should answer the question as to why the urgency, why the necessity, why.
Exactly. Is this not, and please forgive me for saying this, but is this not an overreaction because of the activity that people have seen on behalf of the winery and so on? People are thinking we're decimating the countryside, et cetera, which,
Well, it's certainly a reaction. I don't know if it's an overreaction, but, and there have been several instances, in addition to the one you mentioned, that these gentlemen spoke about, but there have been other cases as well. In regard to what Jim said, there's a lot of, I agree certainly I agree in the abstract with much of what he said. Unfortunately, unfortunately or unfortunately, as the case might be, regulations are important. People can't necessarily not everybody shares the same view of, try to phrase it that way, of what's good or what's not, or what's socially appropriate or what's not. And this is not necessarily, clearly, we're talking about it's a judgment call. Speaking only for myself and nobody else, I like, to me, one of the attractions of the town of Clinton is the fact that we do have as much forested areas as we do. I would very much like to see that preserved, and to my way of thinking, the purpose of the moratorium is to simply say, stop, let's look at this and think about this in a reasonable and hopefully intelligent way, just basically asking you to stop for 6 months while we consider the issues. What basically prompted this is that we're talking about as part of the zoning law, we're talking about a tree, we're not clear cutting law, but a tree harvesting law, which we do not have at the moment. But that's part of the same issue. And much as we did with the solar panels, we asked for a 6-month moratorium on building solar panels until we could come up with a plan that would allow people to do this, but in a way that the town board felt was socially acceptable. And that's really all we're asking here.
But your example, the solar panels, we had nothing that addressed solar panels
Right.
before.
Right.
So that made sense.
Yes.
We also have nothing that
We have
addresses
nothing here.
land clearing.
But didn't we default to what the state had, I mean.
No, that
when-
was, you're talking about the uniform solar application, which was
Right.
one of the things that we applied into the new solar law.
Okay.
Which was to hopefully make putting a solar panel on in those limited cases very easy or easier. And because they're already on the roof of a house, then you don't have to worry about lot side,
Right.
setbacks and all the other
So
requirements.
we refined it.
So
Right.
that's why.
Yeah, that was just an attempt to streamline the process. That wasn't a judgment as to whether
Right.
we wanted these or not. That was a way, we accepted the fact that we wanted to have solar panels, and so this was a way of making the process more efficient. But we don't have anything here either.
I'm trying to understand the judge came in and tried to make comparisons a few meetings ago with, and I can't quote the actual off the top of my head right now, but I'm trying to understand why we feel there's a need to take this to the next level in the town when
So
we've had
part-
things in place to begin with.
Yeah, part of the, even the whole tree harvesting law was that, presently we don't have any checks and balances. And so someone technically could come in and cut every tree down on their property, causing soil erosion, causing, environmental damage, causing anything. And the DEC does not get involved unless you are removing the stumps. So unless you just actually go in with a bulldozer, the DEC doesn't get involved. That's where the whole started conversation of we should have some type of a rule or understanding or law that says, look, if you're under a tree harvesting requirement, it doesn't apply. If you're under a building permit,
Right.
it shouldn't, because there's eyes on it.
Right.
It's only in the case where someone has not gone to an arborist or anybody else to kind of, like, what's the best land practices, we just want you to come in and tell us what you're doing. And that's really the whole premise of the law was supposed to be. It got a little complicated, but but that was the premise of it. It wasn't supposed to be restrictive to the point of telling you, this is your land and we want to tell you how to use it. It was more of a let's be good stewards of our land and tell us what you're doing, and maybe there's a better way to do it. So if there's more eyes on it, it would make sense. And then also, obviously, if you're causing drainage issues or, to your neighbors or to, to the streams and not putting up proper retention ponds or what have you to make sure that these things don't happen, then at least by having this extra check point, it would stop that. And so I think part of Elliot's, and I'm not 100% sold on this moratorium, but I think part of the idea of the moratorium is, number one, we don't have a law that would stop somebody from doing this, and maybe it was a little bit of a reaction to the winery, not knowing whether you had Dutchess soil involved, whether you had the DEC involved. No, I'm explaining something that, so it's easy to make a overreaction, not that I think there was an overreaction, but an overreaction, because did someone really look at this? Did someone, properly do these things? It wasn't there. So I think the whole idea between what our tree law was supposed to do is simply do nothing more than say we should have some eyes on this. In the case where it's extreme, someone up to 2 acres would not be affected by this. And for the most people, even cutting wood for their own purposes and use, if you're cutting more than 2 acres, it's probably more than personal. That's kind of where we started picking numbers, so that we weren't really disturbing the individual, but it was really going to the next level of more of a commercial enterprise, or something so extreme that maybe we should care about the wildlife, the brown bat, or this, that, or the other thing, because there's certain times of the year where they're mating and all these other issues. So that's kind of the conversation that came up during the tree harvesting conversation. The moratorium is another whole stance. It's kind of an extreme motion. So I don't, like I said, I don't know necessarily that I totally agree with the moratorium, but I understand we don't have a law, so this is supposed to kind of jump out on the page and say, hey, give us time to think this through. There's not many cases where people come and clear the land, but at least this will give us the time to think about it.
It's just so voluminous, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it, I mean, the way you just explained it is like, it's just a simple, why don't we say that? All right? And Elliot, I know you probably dream about this, I'm sorry. And there's nothing against what's being done. I think what's being done is fine. I just feel we need to simplify this. We need to put it in some kind of language along with what was in place before.
Well, are you jumping to two different things? One is being the moratorium, or you're talking about the tree law? So there's two different things.
Well, two different things. Number
'Cause
one,
I think you're talking
I'm
about
not
the tree law
sold
right
on the
now.
moratorium.
Okay.
I'm not sold on the need for the moratorium. I think we need to simplify what we're trying to do and get it done as quickly as possible, and there won't be a need for a moratorium. Do we have something that says there's an urgency to pass the moratorium?
Not that I know of.
Well, urgency in the sense of, do we know anybody in particular who's planning to clear cut their property? I don't know of anybody, but that's not to say it can't happen
Right.
tomorrow.
Right.
Or the day after tomorrow.
Right.
We just don't know about these things. I mean, the moratorium itself is just, it's a pretty straightforward thing. There were some issues with the law, or the draft of the law that we came up with as being overly long and complicated, and actually, as Dean said, I'm working on trying to get that down to a more manageable document that people would find easier to digest. I mean, urgency is in the eye of the beholder. To me, yes, there is an urgency. Other people may not see it that way.
Take a vote.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. One, I don't see the urgency either. But the other thing is, we have been talking about this proposed law for now about 4 to 6 months. And all we have is the original version that came out, the 20-some pages, and nothing else. I mean, I would have thought in that 6 months interval, you would have developed something close for us to.
We have a 15-page version.
Oh, that's still pretty big.
Oh, I thought that was pretty good myself.
Still pretty big. And the reason I say, when you go to court or anything like that, If it's too complicated and too wiggly, you lose.
Well, the
Okay.
version, whatever version we end up with, if we go forward with it, obviously will be reviewed by Shane.
No, I understand.
clearly.
Yeah.
And Neil Wilson offered to review it
Yeah,
at our last
but I'm just saying,
as well.
I don't see we need the moratorium. Let's go and do the thing that's supposed to be done and see what comes out, and if nothing comes out, then it's done. Or if something comes out and it's passed, you know, but I think we're just delaying something that we don't need to delay. Any more discussion?
I don't agree that it's a delay. It's not a delay. It's just a chance to take a step back and take a breath and look at this in a,
Okay, well, okay.
an intelligent, hopefully intelligent, and a calm way, rather than rushing, because the clock is ticking. So I don't agree that it's, on that level, I don't agree, but
Okay,
whatever.
let's vote.
Aye.
Nay.
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 Nay, does not pass. Moratorium does not pass. So off we go to the next one, topic that is on the agenda. Next topic is approve amendments to the Greenway Connection. What these are, the Greenway Connection is a state program that we signed up for 20 years ago or something like that. And they have this book, which is a help for the planning board and ZBA on approving or disapproving or looking at the way things should be done. And they came out with 7 more, and we'll read which ones they are, more proposals for items that weren't contained previously. And all we're doing is approving these pictures. Basically, they're one sheet with a picture and some words on it. So that's what we're doing. We're already in the plan. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the resolution of 2017 adopting the annexed seeker negative declaration for the proposed action and adopting the amendments to the Greenway Connections to include 7 new Greenway guides, centers and green spaces, slower, safer roads, rural roads, building bicycle networks, convenience stores with gas pumps, recycling and waste collection, and green infrastructure. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
What about the CAC? And getting input from the CAC and the planning board, particularly the CAC, because I know they're
I
interested.
sent them out this, but these are the general ones from the compact. The CAC is looking at a map of information about the town that the county has put together, and that's what I sent to them. And I sent it to you guys too, so
Yeah.
you all can come back
Yeah.
with comments so that
Yeah.
we can send those in, but that's a county thing. That's not a resolution or anything.
They're meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Why don't we just wait and see what they say? I mean, this thing's been
I think,
kicking around.
Elliot, there was some confusion
year and a half.
on Noreen's part in my office.
What's that?
As we discussed
Yeah.
the 2 items,
Yeah.
and
She got them
she
mixed
was
up.
under the impression that what Ray asked her input on was the Greenway connections. However, the separate email that came also from Dutchess County Department of Planning was a little, overview of the town of Clinton that is going to be included
Sort of like a
on their
biography of the
website.
town,
And so Ray asked Noreen to review
and
that.
others.
And I think there was some confusion on
Yeah.
her part, exactly what he was looking for their input on. It was
Yeah.
not Greenway, it was the other Department of Planning issue,
And we're not gonna change
we're
these
not.
drawings,
doing anything on that.
yeah,
What about the question you raised about the timing?
timing.
Well, I read the cover letter,
The cover
and
letter.
the cover letter required it to be
Yeah.
90 days.
Yeah.
And
I
the
just
letter
got
was
it.
dated 2015, so I just want to be sure that, my work is accurate.
And Jennifer said, please do this and we'll pass it on. No question about the timing. So I got it and I passed it on.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. family leave plan, I didn't mean to put it in. We'll do that next time. I got to put together a little blurb, and we just had a webinar on it about 3 days ago and didn't get it put together.
So nobody's going to ask for family leave between now and next meeting?
It doesn't apply.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't go
You
into
can't
effect until
start
January 1st.
January
The
1st.
billing starts July 1st.
So there's no urgency there?
No. But we got to put it in there.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is for you.
Okay, section 250-88, there's a piece of paper here toward the end. Here we go, it's next to the last page. We passed a resolution, I forget exactly when it was, last year sometime,
It's actually a local law.
or local
I'm
law.
sorry, it was a
A
local
local
law.
law, was it last year? It was at 16 or 15, yeah, okay. Which basically gives the right to prosecute and enforcement to zoning administrator and a handful of other officials in town. This was done as part of, in response to a situation where it became clear that the wording, the existing wording of what we were working with was vague. And so this was simply a way of making it more specific by naming the specific, certain individuals who were empowered to do this. Okay. My recommendation is, and this is just for discussion at this point, it's not for action, see if the sense of the board is that we might want to consider going one step further and making it a requirement that the majority of the board vote to undertake legal action, which is actually an expenditure of money. Right now, it's not. There is no stopgap as far as that's concerned. And I think it would simply, it would be frugal and sensible for us for issues come before us at that, if they reach that stage, and a majority of the board says, yes, we should go ahead and commence legal action because there's money involved.
There's money involved in lots of things, so that's not always the issue all the time, okay? You know, we buy salt. We don't authorize that so much salt be
Right,
purchased in any one day. I mean,
This is a
that's
slightly different
No,
situation
but I'm just
than
saying,
buying salt.
that there's a lot of things
There are a
like
lot,
that.
I understand that, but I also understand that when it comes to legal action, there are a lot of issues involved that don't necessarily come to the surface, but they are there. And I think before getting involved in something as complicated and challenging as legal action, you need to have a consensus of the board, people who can take a step back and say, this is worth doing, or this is not worth doing.
Okay, what's the process that you envision that this would take to make this occur?
Well, I'd have I mean, assuming the response is, in principle, is favorable, I will talk to the attorney and come up with a strategy, a process. I would guess the answer would be something along the lines of the ZEO would have to come to us because he's usually the one. If it's a zoning situation, typically it would emanate from the zoning administrator with a proposal saying, here's what's happening and here's what I think we ought to do. We ought to take legal action because we've tried X, Y, and Z and it hasn't worked. Okay. What we would need to do, again, don't know the mechanism, but I'm sure we can come up with one without any problem, would be at that point, we would need to consult with the town attorney and say, what is the likelihood if we undertake legal action that we'll get the desired result? And approximately how much do you think it will cost? Because that's part of the issue. And if he says, I think it's going to cost you X and your chances of success are 30%, well, that's good to know before we go ahead and authorize it, or not. Or if he says your chances are 70% and it's going to cost you Y in a different situation. And there will be cases where he'll say, I don't think we'll win, but I think you should do it anyway because the precedent, or you need to make a statement. The town needs to go on record as being in favor of this or against that. And so even though I don't think it's going to be successful, I think it's important for you to make that statement. And we'll just take each one as it comes. Now, these sorts of things don't happen all the time. How often do we get involved in these kinds of cases?
But once every 5 years.
Well, okay, so it's not something that's going to occupy a lot of time or, take a lot of attention, but in cases where they do come up, they can be very expensive
And some of the things that you and I talked
and
about
unsuccessful.
is that, not to say this was ever a case, but sometimes, you have personalities don't match, and then someone says, well, I'll take you to court, and that shouldn't be the mind that makes the decision.
Well, that's why having,
And that's why having 5 minds to make the decision is better than
Exactly.
one sometimes.
preferably ones who are perhaps less immediately
Emotionally attached.
invested, yes, exactly.
Well,
Right.
the process would be, we would have to have an executive session. So the town board would
Absolutely.
have to come to executive session.
Okay,
And invite whoever you want.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Then we have to go into public session
okay,
to approve the action. I mean, that's the normal
Right.
process. And with the attorney there and all, you're starting to pick up costs.
well, yeah, but we'll know that.
Yeah, no, I'm just
That's
saying
fine. Whatever we have to
that would be
do,
the
we'll
process.
do
But
whatever.
we'd save on the court cases we don't take,
Well,
so.
maybe that's
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll do whatever we have to do to make it work, basically.
Makes sense.
I
At this
think-
point, all I'm looking for is a sense from the board as to whether this is worth
I
pursuing.
think it's a little overkill myself. I would go with saying, prior to the commencement of any appeal legal action, because that's a big one. Depends on what it is, you either go to the Supreme Court or you go to the district court. down
Well,
in
that
White Plains.
would definitely be.
And that one, and I would put that in, but just the local ones here, I don't see it needed.
So I used the example, and Elliot and I had this conversation, but I used the example of the tax abatements. And, so here we are spending a lot of money for having an attorney to negotiate something that should have just been negotiated
That's right.
with Teresa. And I appeal
that's
to
not
everybody in the
zoning, yeah.
town that if you came to the board and felt like you weren't being treated fairly or wisely or whatever, I'm sure we could probably come up with an amiable,
That's, and I mentioned that, actually, when I spoke
That
with Shay.
example that he gave last time
that's-
sold me on what you're saying.
But that's reactive rather than proactive.
Right.
That's the difference. But yes, I mean, if somebody brings suit against the town, we can't,
And that's what
this goes out the window.
tax surcharges
Right.
are
Exactly.
against the town, we're not the
We're not bringing
prosecutor.
charges, we're responding.
Right.
So you can't just
Right.
refuse to
Right.
respond.
Or roll over.
But, yeah.
But in those cases, Shane does come back to us and say, I think we should go forward, and that takes a town vote. So the
Yeah, fine.
board
Well,
comes and
yeah,
says,
that's so
yes.
he can sign it.
Yeah.
If he
Yeah,
doesn't sign,
okay.
if
I
we
mean,
don't say
then
to
the
sign.
same-
But that's to say
It
we're
ends.
going forward.
So
So
the same
there's the
thing would
same
apply.
example
Yeah.
that,
Right,
we're making a decision
right,
whether to fight that out.
right.
So what do we do?
Okay,
As I say, I would
We'll
say
take it up again a
appeal,
month from now.
So I'd like to see the language that Shane
Yeah,
would come up
yeah,
with
for
that
sure.
would be
for sure.
not so restrictive, but at the same time, we're not going to be spending thousands of dollars.
Well, he created it, it's in front of you.
Right,
It's in your
I read
packet.
it correctly.
Okay.
I thought he just said he had to go back and clean it up.
Well, it's a local law, so what he has to do then is he has to put it in a form, a local law form, there's a resolution, there's a process and a procedure to follow, and that's, I think, what, I
Right,
don't want to
yeah,
speak for you,
yeah,
Elliot,
that's
but
what I-
I'm sure that's
So
what
it's
you
gonna be
mean.
more, it'll be more elaborate
Right.
than what's here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I'd say, I'd go with it,
Okay.
appeals and let the regular stuff go.
Scribble that down scribble down what you just said, so I have it in front of me.
Okay.
Right. So we'll put it up
Yep.
for next month.
So Elliot, you'll follow up with the attorney
Yes,
for a local
Just
law.
added one word.
oh, okay, fine, yeah.
so other new business.
Okay.
I had sent out everybody my email about something that we started discussing last month, and I felt with the topic of the Greenway connection, and also with the minutes read from the CAC, would be a good time to introduce it. So I'm making a suggestion that we become a climate-smart community by making a pledge to reduce greenhouse gases and improve climate resiliency. For years now, we've, as a town, and that's not just the town board, but all our committees have done many things to really qualify as being a climate-smart community, including the installation of 2 sections of solar panels, our geothermal heating system, applying for grants for like the LEDs, and even the latest grant that didn't go through, which was to put in more solar panels. Are some of the reasons why I think we more than qualify. But as a town board, I've always felt that our responsibility is to provide services and maintain a fair, reasonable tax rate. And so when I look at something like becoming a climate-smart community, I always take into consideration, what's the financial impact of that, and something that you emailed me, Ray, about, what's the cost and so on. There is no cost. So that it kind of answers that. So I think we achieved the goal of, becoming a climate-smart community without any impact financially. But in fact, there's actually a financial benefit. So one of the benefits is something that I found out from the county, approved last month. Red Hook just became a clean energy community. And part of being a clean energy community, there's $250,000 in grant money that's available for us to apply for if we became a clean energy community. And one of the steps in doing that is to also take this pledge. So it's kind of like a two-edged sword here as to what I'm asking for. The goal of the town board is to provide our residents with that fair tax base, but here's an opportunity to actually keep our town clean, green, and maybe even bring some green in. So through the use of things like the NYSERDA grant, as well as other energy efficiencies that the town has done with our buildings, the conversion hopefully soon with our lighting to LEDs, through the zoning, we can encourage builders to use smarter, environmentally sound techniques, proper stormwater management practices, as well as other rainwater and steep grounds to flow towards, away from, the houses and buildings, and away to the back ends of the properties, as well as working with our recycling center for more energy efficient operations and reuse. Work with and promote things like Solarize Hudson Valley. Even though I've gone to a couple of meetings, our town is too small, so we can certainly join in with towns like Pleasant Valley or Stanfordville and something like that, and still promote those type of things. The energy code enforcement training, so making sure our code enforcers and building inspectors are up to date on energy code enforcements. And just even this Greenway connection. Part of my conversation last week was that I had asked the CAC to not only look at the climate smart resolution, but possibly becoming certified, and that's something that they had been looking at and talking about. Presently, this is just a resolution, and the bullet points of these 10 are the things that we're pledging, basically. There's currently only 10 communities in Dutchess County that have pledged this, none of which that are certified. They include the City of Beacon, the Town of Dover, Hyde Park, LaGrange, Red Hook, the Town of Red Hook, that is, the Town of Rhinebeck, Town of Wappingers, the Village of Rhinebeck, the Village of Tivoli, the Village of Wappingers, and the only certified, or the closest certified community is Kingston. So with that in mind, I'm kind of asking that we take the pledge, and I presented everybody with the resolution. Just figured I'd throw it out for a question before.
Go for it.
I think it's good.
So
Make the motion.
I make a motion, be it resolved, that the town board approves a resolution of 2017, whereas the town of Clinton believes that the climate change can pose an increasing threat to our local community and global environments from the burning of fossil fuels, and whereas the effects of climate change can endanger our infrastructure, economy, and livelihood, harm our plants and farms and orchards, including the native fish and wildlife population, spread invasive species, exotic diseases, and reduce drinking water supplies and recreational opportunities, and pose health threats to our citizens. And whereas we believe that our response to climate change provides us with an unprecedented opportunity to save money and also to build a livable, energy independent, and secured community, vibrant, innovative economies, health and safe schools, and resilient infrastructure. And it be resolved that the town of Clinton, in order to reduce greenhouse gases emissions and adapt to changing climate, adopts the New York State Climate Smart Community Pledge, which promises the following 10 elements. 1, pledge to the climate smart community. 2, set goals, inventory emissions, and plan for climate action. 3, decrease community energy use. 4, increase community use of renewable energy. 5, realize benefits of recycling and other climate-smart solid waste management practices. 6, reduce greenhouse gas emissions through the use of climate-smart land use tools. 7, enhance community resilience and preparedness for the effects of climate change. 8, support development of green, innovative economies. 9, inform and inspire the public. And 10, commit to an involving process of climate action.
Is there a second?
Second.
More discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Did you get one from Colleen about going to school?
We're gonna wait till August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know when it was.
Yeah, she needs an intermunicipal agreement. I mean, it's very
Okay.
complicated.
Well, that's why I sent her.
Yeah, thanks.
Didn't want to miss it. Okay, resignations and appointments. Are we done with all business there?
No.
I make a motion to approve the appointment of Taylor Harkenrider.
Right?
Huh? Oh,
No, go ahead. No, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
make a motion to appointment of Taylor Harkenrider as recreation assistant at $9.70 per hour from July 11th to September 30th to replace Zoe Holmes Hunter and Mario Mostello, who are not able to serve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, make a motion to approve Esther Murray, Flynn Ashworth, and Sam Ulrich as volunteer helpers for the summer camp effective July 10th, 2017. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Move funds. I make a motion to move to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approve resolution of 2017, a motion to move funds at the July 11th, 2017 town board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, warrants.
Make a motion be resolved, the town board approves the July capital fund warrant vouchers number 3 through 4 totaling $5,476.34, and the July general fund warrant vouchers number 225 through 270A through P totaling $48,655.95, and the July highway fund warrant vouchers 165 through 192A totaling $20,319.26. Second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next one is the supervisor's report. I make a motion to approve the June 2017 supervisor's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. I assume someone's going to want to talk in public session? I know Joel's here, so we'll open it up. I make a motion to open the meeting to public discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, who wants to be first? Come up, say your name. Oh, okay, come on up then. Your name and address.
I'm Kathy Evans. I live at 7 Hummingbird Way, Stottsburg, New York. And I just wondered, who would I ask with questions about the signage on county roads, like County Road 14 and County Road, Bull's Head and Slate Quarry. I don't know if that's a town issue here, or is it a New York State
It's a county issue.
county issue?
Yeah. Robert Balkind is the Commissioner of Highways for
Okay.
Dutchess County.
Robert, what's his name again?
Balkind, B-A-L-K-I-N-D.
They're
Thanks.
on the web, duchessnewyork.gov.
Yeah.
DuchessNewYork.gov.
Duchess
Great.
NY, right?
Yeah,
DuchessNY.gov.
Thank you.
Yep. Next. Joel, come on up.
They come bearing gifts.
Oh, no. More paper, more trees.
That's it. Somebody has to
See if
do
we
it.
had a moratorium.
Joel Tyner,
He'd
324 Browns Pond Road. How's everybody doing? Thrilled to see the Climate Smart Communities thing happening tonight. I had brought that up a little while ago, so thank you for doing that. I actually got a resolution passed unanimously a couple months ago in the county legislature for Dutchess County to, kind of wean itself away from fossil fuels. And originally it was supposed to be 100% fossil fuel free by 2030, because Stanford Cornell report came out 4 years ago on that, but sort of watered down a little bit. Now the Dutchess Environmental Management Council is looking into that. And I just wanted to let you guys know and everybody know the Sierra Club. If you just Google on the internet, Sierra Club Ready for 100 campaign, even the Republican San Diego mayor, working with the Chamber of Commerce in San Diego, they're going to be 100% fossil fuel free by 2035. It's like an economic development thing. And I think there's 1,400 mayors across the country that just signed a statement a week or two ago saying, fossil fuel free by 2040. On that note, I'm encouraging, I know Hudson Solar and Rhinebeck doing the community solar thing. I've been pushing for that for a while. The Cricket Valley plant in Dover is a ticking time bomb when that opens, similar to the CPV plant in Wawayanda. And so I'm sort of encouraging, I would like to see a solar farm or two here in the town of Clinton, personally. A community solar project along the lines of what Hudson Solar is doing in Rhinebeck. I know Red Hook, they've embraced it. The more we're self-sufficient, energy independent locally, the less we have to worry about, Cricket Valley, Wawayanda, and also the insanity with the AC power line upgrade. And the Governor Cuomo idiocy with the $7.6 billion, they stopped the CuomoTax.com with the subsidies for those upstate nuclear power plants. You're probably aware of the $59.6 million fund balance, county budget surplus that was just announced. And that's literally triple what it was around 2012. If you look at 96 through 2012, those 17 calendar years, it was $340 million total. Divide by 17, on average, it was about $20 million left over each year. And it's gone up 300% in the last 4 or 5 years because of the change in the county sales tax revenue sharing formula. I don't think it'd be a bad idea, and I keep on pushing and pushing every single activist, taxpayer, voter, elected official that I know, even though the county executive is saying, well, the mayors in Beacon and Poughkeepsie have signed this thing. If the Dutchess County Associations of Supervisors and Mayors and everybody pushes, I think the county would relent and give more money to the municipalities. What I've seen is a lot of municipalities are starving, living in austerity, and I know people here in Clinton don't have money to pay higher property taxes, especially for illegal things that the county government may or may not be doing. That's why I handed that out, because I knew before June 5th that basically the county takeover of the city bus system was illegal. I'm asking you to look at that, because it's a Poughkeepsie issue, but guess what? If the county gets sued, which the county is probably going to be sued, we pay to defend. And that letter sent by an international law firm, June 22nd, points out basically it's an infraction of Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The only other thing I was going to say is I know for a fact that heroin opiate abuse is a very real issue in northern Dutchess County, and I'm still sort of frustrated that a year ago I got my caucus at least to sign a letter saying Dutchess County should be a part of PARI, P-A-A-R-I, the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative, basically where law enforcement says we're not going to arrest anybody who's a nonviolent drug addict. We're going to make sure they have treatment. And I've been on the phone with the Republican sheriff of Broome County, and there's 160 municipalities, law enforcement officials all over the country that are a part of this, PARIUSA.org. The last time I checked, the jail folks don't want to give me updated reports all the time, but there's about 30, 40 people in the Dutchess County Jail right now who have been charged with nothing but nonviolent drug addiction. And I've seen there's definitely some others, violent charges, drug dealers, but there are 40 that all they're charged with is nonviolent drug addiction. So I just thought I'd put that out there. I've been a lot of garbage thrown at me over the last week. I just wanted to point out over the last month, my wife is Jewish. Just about all my entire family is Jewish. So please take everything that you read with a large grain of salt, because there's been an incredible amount of misinformation thrown on. I never called anybody fascist or anything.
That's
Yeah.
enough of
So,
that.
the drug intake, wasn't that part of the jail proposal, was that they were building the rehab center, if you want to call it, to, instead of putting them in jail, to bring them over to that
That was Mark's.
intake center?
Yeah, I've been pushing for that for a while. The county executive did at one or two forums that I attended a few years ago talk about a corner for that, but then there was also talk of, I haven't heard anything specific. You want to hear
I
something?
saw the proposal of that
And
building.
not jail cells?
Not jail cells.
Okay. Because one thing that upset me was in February of this year, there was a PowerPoint presentation at the county actually at the Bardavon. It was the $27 million new sheriff's complex, and they hadn't even started designing the jail expansion. It was like, cart before the horse. Anyway.
Okay, thanks, Joel. Okay, anybody else? Okay, then I make a motion to return to regular order of business. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Any more business before us?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to, before we adjourn, to go into executive session for a few minutes.
You gotta make the motion and the purpose for it.
To talk about the restructuring of the town, I don't know how to put this.
Personnel?
Town personnel structuring and changes that are happening, and the forces that are asking us to take a look at how we're structured.
Okay, so that's your motion.
That's my motion.
Is there any more, a second to it?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now, one other comment. Do you expect that we're gonna have a motion after that discussion?
So we're going to need to come back into public.
No, it's going to be a discussion,
And then
No
it's done?
action.
no action right
Okay, No,
now.
I'm just trying to, because then we'll just close the
Right,
meeting,
we can close the meeting.
but we'll,
You'll just tell me what time you're going to
yeah, we'll
the
close
meeting.
Right.
the thing, but I'm just saying for the public to see, we're not gonna be
Right.
on TV, and we're not going to be, coming back and saying,
No.
we gave this guy money or
No,
whatever.
no,
None
no,
of
no,
that stuff
has
will
nothing to
happen.
do with that.
Okay, so with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, so we're closed. So Judy, you can go home.
And then Ray just tell me what time.
Yeah.
These are for Mike, I guess. I didn't see these.
Oh, I'll take them back.
Oh, you want these?
I had them on the table, I didn't see them for anybody else wanted to see them, but I don't want them to take them because they're.
That's fine.